For this project, we're going to be working on learning one-point perspective. For this project, you're going to need a pencil with an eraser, something to draw a straight line with. I'm going to be doing it with a ruler and a piece of paper. In case you don't have a ruler, you can just take any piece of paper and fold it in half the long way. And I'm going to do it a couple of times, so I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. I'm just going to do it a couple of times just to make it a little bit thicker. Just keep it folded and fold it in half a couple times. And you can have a little straight edge, and you can use this as a straight edge ruler because we're not going to be measuring anything for these notes that we're taking today. You just need to have something that's going to be able to draw a straight edge, okay? It could be even the side of a book if you want to. Anything that can make a straight edge. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a piece of paper, and it doesn't have to be a plain white piece of paper. It could be a lined paper also. But what's important is that you have something that you can write with that you can also erase with, okay? You're going to turn it into landscape orientation. What's important is that you're going to have to draw everything very lightly. So the first thing you're going to do is across the middle of your paper with your paper and landscape orientation, you're just going to put it, the ruler or your straight edge, near the middle of your paper. And you're going to draw very softly because you're going to be doing a lot of erasing later. So if you have a hard time drawing lightly, what I suggest is holding your pencil very close to the top of your pencil so you can just slide it against the straight edge. Notice how one hand is keeping the ruler down so it doesn't move as you're drawing a straight line. Okay? Now I'll be switching between this ruler and a straight edge just to show you that you can use either one to make straight lines. That's step number one. Next, near the middle of that line that you just drew, you're gonna put a little dot. Just a tiny little dot. You don't wanna make it too dark either, okay? At this point, I wanna tell you what these two things are. First, the line that we drew across our paper, we're gonna label it as our horizon line. So I'm gonna spell it for you, Horizon, horizon line, okay? Our horizon line is known as your eye level. So imagine if you were looking straight ahead wherever, if you're in a crouching position or if you're standing up, wherever if you were looking straight across, that would be your horizon line or your eye level. So in parentheses, I'm gonna put your eye level. And I'll explain more about this later. This little dot that I put in the middle of my horizon line is what we're gonna call our vanishing point. So I'm just gonna put a little vanishing point right there, okay? So remember, this sheet that we're doing right now is notes. So don't worry about, you can make any kind of notes and writings you want to on this. This is just to help you with our project later on, okay? So far we've drawn our horizon line and our vanishing point. So this is called one-point perspective drawing. And the one point that we're talking about is this vanishing point. This is the only point that we're going to be using for the whole exercise today. Next, we're going to draw 4 squares. So you're going to draw a square in the top left of your paper somewhere in the top right of your paper, somewhere at the bottom right, and somewhere at the bottom left. So I'm going to do that really quickly. And it doesn't matter how big it is, and it doesn't have to be a perfect square. But what you want to do is you want to make sure it's a straight square, okay? I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to make it about a square. So I'm going to keep turning my paper around just to make sure I have a straight square. Okay. Don't worry if it's not exactly a square. If it's a rectangle, that's fine also. But what's important is that you want it to be straight. For this one, I'm even going to make it a rectangle a little bit on purpose. Just make it a little bit uneven. Because a square has equal sides. So I'm going to make this one a little bit different just to show you that it doesn't really matter if you make a rectangle or a square for this. Just as long as it's close. Notice how I'm always using the hand that I'm not drawing with to make sure the ruler does not move while I'm making my straight lines. because if the ruler moves while I'm drawing, it will make a crooked line. Okay? And now I'm gonna make these different rectangles down here. If you wanna continue making squares, that's fine, but I'm gonna make this a longer rectangle. Okay, so I've got 2 squares and I've got 2 rectangles. You can do any combination as long as you have either a square or rectangle in each position in relation to your horizon line and your vanishing point. So that's the first part. Now, from this point forward, it's very important that you draw very lightly. Everything that you're going to be drawing should be drawn extremely lightly because you're going to be doing a lot of erasing. Okay? So, I'm going to start off with this top right rectangle. Notice, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little dot in each corner. When we do our real project, you will not be putting dots in the corner, but because we're taking notes, I want you to understand the concept. It's okay that we're adding dots right now to each corner of our rectangle. What you're going to do after you do that is you're going to line up each dot from your rectangle to the vanishing point with your ruler or straight edge. So I'll do it with my ruler first. So I put my pencil down on one dot, I take the ruler, I hit it, and I'm going to rotate the ruler until the edge touches the vanishing point. And very softly, once again, if you have trouble drawing softly, hold your pencil up very high and just slide it against the ruler to your vanishing point. You're going to do that for all 4 points. Well, actually, you're only going to be doing it for 3, so I'll show you why. Because what happens is, when I do these 3 points, there's no interruption to the vanishing point. But notice, if I try to draw it from here, this corner of the rectangle, if I try to connect it to the vanishing point, it goes through the rectangle itself. If it goes through the rectangle, you do not have to draw it. So I'm going to skip this one. Okay? I'm going to continue doing this for all of my other rectangles and squares. This square, this rectangle, and this square. There it is. Now, so far we've labeled the horizon line, which is the eye level. We've labeled the vanishing point, which is the one point on the horizon line where everything disappears or vanishes to. If you notice these boxes that we've been drawing so far, now that you see all these lines going to that vanishing point, it looks like the box is disappearing into that point. That's why we call it the vanishing point. Now, at this point, I'm also going to introduce these lines that are all going from the shape, the rectangle or square, going towards the vanishing point. We call these orthogonals. So we're going to label that right now. That's called an orthogonal. Okay? So we have a vanishing point, horizon line, and orthogonal. I'm going to have you all stop at this point, okay? Make sure you write your name somewhere where you have space. And when we meet together next time, we'll continue with this project. But remember, this is 1 point perspective, so I'm also going to label this as the number 1 dash point perspective. And I'll explain to you more about this worksheet later on. But just try to get to this point during your independent study time. And I'll see you next time.